Hello, welcome to Local Anesthetic Podcast, your regular injection of mind-numbing local news. This is episode 354 now, unbelievably. And hello, Rob, how you doing?
Hello, mate. Yeah, not too bad. Yeah, not a lot of news. Still enjoying the sofa. I know people would like to get those updates. Yeah, fine.
Yeah.
How are you?
I'm fine. Rob and I are, well, you know, I'm with my eye. If any of the listeners, I don't know if any of the listeners have inquired, I'm sure they do care, but with my eye, I do believe I'm now more entering into the recovery phase rather than the acute phase. Things still aren't brilliant, but I feel like I'm beginning to get there maybe. What I will say, Rob, is that, just for our listeners to understand, is that, you know, with Rob and I's various commitments, things like that, you know, sometimes we have to record these episodes in advance. And so by the time these episodes go out, Rob, God knows what's going on with the state of the world. We could have entered into World War III with Russia.
With Russia and Ukraine, yeah.
Russia incurring Ukraine. Boris Johnson could have gone. I mean, let's be honest. I'm naming it now. No matter when this episode comes out, he's finished. There's no way any leader comes back from this, as far as I'm concerned. But
no.
But it's just. But presumably by the time this goes out, it might have even had Sue Gray's report. You know,
I would imagine so. I mean, it's supposed to be due very shortly at this point in time, and hopefully
they do need to call it though 50 Shades of Grey, don't they?
Oh, absolutely, yeah, fantastic. I hadn't thought about that.
However many bullet points she has in it, they can just call it that, like 78 Shades of Grey.
I kind of wish I could fast forward to the point when this episode's released just to see what has happened in the intervening period.
Yeah, exactly. Now, we should say right at the top, Rob, we did have a story submitted to us from Khyber, which I think you had already seen and I'd already seen. It's a story out there, because we don't listen, because sometimes listeners might wonder, how could they not have covered this? But there's a story about, it was in Ireland, wasn't it, Rob? Where else?
It was an island, yeah.
Was it Cork?
I believe it was, yeah. I'm trying to remember I was literally read it this morning again for the second time, and I can't remember the name of the place that took place. But I mean, the gist of it was that two men had taken what appeared to be a corpse to the post office to try and collect the deceased man's benefits. Now, as I'm sure you can imagine, this failed to meet our editorial standards, although it was a cracking story. So thank you, Khyber. But we need to maintain those standards. So we've decided not to feature it.
Despite the Weekend at Bernie's level of sort of mirth that one could derive from the story, Rob and I agreed when we started the podcast, we had to draw a line somewhere. And obviously there are other lines as well. But one of the key ones was, we don't cover stories that involve human death, because I guess what Rob and I thought was, if you are a relative of the deceased, how are you going to feel about two dickheads laughing about what's happened to your relative, you know, effectively? So that's why. That's the reason. And that line, Rob, cannot be breached, and I don't think it ever has been breached. I think we might have had minor incursions, to use Joe Biden's.
I think we've sailed quite close to the what's that expression? Sail too close.
Sail close to the wind. Yes.
Yeah. But I don't think we've ever crossed over that line. We've definitely died with it a few times.
Well, Rob, listen. Let's get on with episode 354. I understand you've got a small smattering of stories to start us off with, some hors d'oeuvres, if you will.
Yes, I mean, these are those small, slightly comical stories that this podcast was built upon. And the first one I'm going to feature is I feel is very, very topical for this point in time. So it's from the Liverpool Echo. It is from the 14th of January by Rebecca. I'm assuming she has some Polish heritage. I'm not even trying to pronounce the surname because I would just absolutely butcher it. But if anyone is interested, she is the My Rural editor. So obviously covers stories from the rural. And the headline is, Pub rebrands as the Lying Bastard in Digger Under Fire Boris Johnson.
We should say as well that whole thing, when all those stories broke about Prince Philip's funeral on the eve of it, you know, suitcases full of wine were being carted into Downing Street. You did text me and helpfully pointed out that there were some brilliant. I love it when people do this, the good old British public, but people have been leaving these fake reviews on Google reviews for the Co-op on the Strand, which is reportedly where a lot of this wine was bought, I understand.
I believe so, yeah. Yeah,
which are brilliant. It's really worth visiting because put in Co-op the Strand Google reviews because they're very humorous.
Yeah, and it happened within a matter of hours. I mean, I just spend a couple of minutes just scrolling through them because they are very entertaining. So a pub owner has teased a cheeky name change for his venue, which he suggested rebranding the Lying Bastard following revelations about the Downing Street drinks parties. The former James Atherton pub in New Brighton Rural previously changed its name to the Three Bellends in a jibe at the government.
Hang on a minute, though. Just to be clear, he hasn't changed the name. This sounds, and he hasn't changed the name to the Lying Bastard. He's mooted it. Like, if you're going to do it, show the commitment to doing it. Maybe there's some legal reason why you're not allowed. Maybe you're not allowed to use profanity.
Alex, can I just say that there is a picture of his pub with I'm not sure they're called the pub boards, clearly having the name the Three Bellends. And it has a very fetching picture of Boris Johnson front and centre with Dominic Cummings on one side and Matt Hancock on the other, wearing bells on their heads.
That is absolutely brilliant. Fantastic. Well, if I was really rich, Rob, I'm talking like mega rich to the point where like you don't even think of anything about just buying up some company sort of thing, it'd be great, wouldn't it, just to build a range of shops that you open around the UK, the Greg style, like on every high street. I don't know what they'd sell. They might not even have to sell anything. They just, they could, whatever. You'd work that out in the time, but all of them are just called Boris Johnson is a cunt.
That's a good question. I'm trying to think what they would sell. I just imagine a lot of overpriced sort of like organic and gourmet products that maybe seem quite appealing from the inside, but when you really open them, they're actually quite revolting.
We got a problem in this country though, haven't we, Rob? We love it's that thing where everybody knew what Boris Johnson was right from the beginning, right?
Yeah.
But went along with it anyway. Do you see what I mean? We kind of love to be deceived. I'm not comparing the two. I want to be clear about that. But the whole Jimmy Savile thing is an example of that. Everybody really knew that this guy was fucking creepy as shit.
Yeah. And
yet, it's that kind of thing where we're the architects of our own demise, really. And the same phenomenon with Trump. It's almost this sadomasochistic urge to harm yourself.
Well, I think there's two things, really. I mean, first of all, I think I've mentioned this podcast before that when the revelations about Jimmy Savile, I'm not going to focus on Jimmy Savile, by the way, this is just a passing comment, but when the revelations started coming out just after his death, I remember someone tweeted, it's always the people you most suspect. Because as you're right, I mean, if he was the kind of guy, if he hadn't, managed to climb in some sort of position of power, whatever that was, and was courting royalty and senior members of government and God knows what else. If you saw him in the pub, you would avoid him at all costs. Let's be honest. But also,
you'd call him Creepy Jimmy.
Yeah, exactly that. Also, I sent you a podcast recommendation yesterday evening, which was. So I listened, as I said in this podcast many times before, I listened to the QAnon Anonymous podcast, which is absolutely superb. And they had a lecturer from the West England University, and it's quite a lengthy podcast, but I really highly recommend it because it's about how the left or left wing, i.e., communist and socialist ideologies have slowly faded over the last couple of years, and how sort of the neoliberals sort of kind of achieved their end to the fact that their values no longer mattered, which is why then led to this rise in capitalism. But he's now debating that at this point in time, capitalism is slowly starting to collapse. But, for the establishment, they are doing everything they possibly can to ensure that doesn't happen. However, it is inevitable. That is a very sort of ham-fisted summary of it, but I would highly encourage people to listen to it because it is absolutely fascinating. Bit of a tangent there, but, stick with us. Anyway, back to the pub. So now the pub could be facing another name change, which owner Daniel Davis teased customers by showing them new artwork.
No, any relation? Any relation?
It's Davies. I'm sad to say. So possibly somewhere, but not in direct lineage.
It's not your brother.
No. I don't think he's also related to obviously the Tory MP David Davis either. But I may be wrong.
Good on him though. Look, I know David Davis was a Brexit supporter, but I've always been a fan of him just on the basis that he is a principled person. Like he did a lot of speaking out against governments in the past about civil rights, things like that. And that took a lot of guts, I think, what he did in Parliament when he called on Boris Johnson to go. For God, in the name of God, go.
It was quite a hammer blow, and also the fact that closed the session as well. I mean, that must have been quite a stinging retort for Boris, which I'm very pleased with. So the owner, Daniel Davis, teased customers by showing them new artwork depicting Boris Johnson with a party hat, wine bottle, party popper, and smudged lipstick. I mean, I'm going to leave that story there because I think that just tells you everything you need to know. So it looks like this is in the offing. So I think he is literally going to change the name of his pub. So good on him. My next short story is from the Lincolnshire Live. It is by Sophie Goodall from the 23rd of January. So literally very, very topical for us. And the headline is, man spotted taking large pole home after few drinks.
Wasn't Boris Johnson, I assume, but large pole. He wasn't from a pole dancing establishment. Did you see in the news that when they looked into Putin, this massive mansion that has long been thought to that belonged to Putin, it's got pole dancing rooms in it. There are pictures of it.
First of all, I didn't see that, but I can't say I'm massively surprised by it either. No. So police stopped a drunken man in the street who was carrying a large pole intending to take it home. So Sergeant Michael Templeman of Lincolnshire Police tweeted that the officers were dealing with a job in Lincoln City Centre when they spotted the man who was carrying the pole down the street. They stopped him and found that due to having a few drinks, he couldn't explain why he'd removed the pole, but was intending to take it home. After investigating, officers managed to return the pole to its rightful place on Steep Hill. That's the end of the story. That's it.
Right, that is the kind of story this podcast was founded on. It didn't even say how long the pole was, Rob. I mean, poles come in various lengths. Oh,
well, it looks like what it was. It was actually a handrail because if anyone knows Steep Hill in Lincoln, it is, as the name suggests, a steep hill, and I think the pole was basically a handrail that was attached to bollards, which he somehow managed to remove.
Rob, have you been to Steep Hill? You seem to have quite a lot of knowledge.
I have been to Steep Hill, yes. Yeah, only the once, but it was an enjoyable experience. My other concern is, that, Alex, that it's fair to say on this podcast we've often speculated about people inserting themselves into other things, and
you saying he was taking that pole home for some sort of pole dance, well, not pole.
Pole inserting action, actually, yeah. Inserting action, yeah. I mean, Alex, we've covered stranger things on this podcast. Let's be honest. And talking of that, my last very short story is from the Gloucestershire Live website from the 17th of January by...
Rob, I'm dizzy. You're taking me around the UK so fast. Okay, now we're in Gloucester.
Sorry, Alex, this is the Whistle Stop Tour of the UK. Apparently, we needed two journalists to report on this story. So we've got Dave Shepherd, who is the digital editor, and William Morgan, who is the trainee reporter. So obviously he was going to get a bit of shadowing work that day.
Dave Shepherd sounds like a disc jockey from the late 80s, early 90s.
Yeah. There's maybe just fallen on a hard time. I imagine he may have started off on Radio Caroline, but then couldn't get a job at Radio 1, so had to go to BBC Radio Lincoln, for instance.
Exactly.
Yeah. So man calls RSPCA after discovering a snake in his sofa.
Right, now you just bought a sofa, Rob. Did you have any unusual discoveries in there?
No. So far, it's been all the things you'd expect to see in there. There's nothing untoward.
I've got a story about a sofa.
Right.
When I replaced my old sofa with my current sofa, I had to get rid of the old sofa. And as you know, one of the things you can do is ring up these places, these charity places, and get them to come and collect it so they can sell it in their stores, right? So I donated it, right? But the problem was, it was an IKEA couch originally, But all of these charity places, so they will only take these couches if they've got this fire safety thing stitched into it or stapled into it. And even though this is an IKEA product, I couldn't find it anywhere. It wasn't there. So I knew that they wouldn't take it.
Okay.
So I went online, bought some fire safety labels off eBay, stapled them in myself.
Is that true?
That's true. Yeah.
How long ago was this?
A year and a bit. I don't know.
Okay. That's probably fine.
But the point that I'm trying to make is it wasn't that I was doing anything illegal or even untoward, because I knew this couch. I looked it up on IKEA's website. I knew that it was fire safe. It just didn't have the label. You see what I mean? I had to find some way of putting it on there and getting rid of it. I just want to be clear. I didn't. Some poor person hasn't died in a death trap that is my couch. It is obviously. It was. I'm trying to say the label was missing, and so I had to put one on. But I was proud of myself for the ingenuity of it. Are you disappointed in me, Rob? What would you have me do? Chuck it in a canal?
No, I thought you were going to suggest you took it outside and tried to set fire to it, see if it would burn. But yeah, or you could have chucked it to a canal. Yeah, to maybe some moorhens could have made a nest on it.
What's a moorhen?
Or in it. It's one of those blackbirds. It doesn't matter now. That's not the point. Right, look, let's get back to this man and his snake. I didn't know you were a bird fancier. Well, I mean, because I know the name of a bird.
Yeah, I think moorhen sounds pretty niche to know.
Maybe.
To be honest, you're sounding a bit like a pervert.
Right. I mean, Alex, there's moorhens near where I live. It's quite a picturesque place. What can I say?
Right. Okay.
I think they're moorhens anyway. They could be peafowl. I've no. Do you know what? I don't actually know.
Right. So you are one of those people who knows all about birds.
Look. Right. The RSPCA has revealed that a man called them out to collect a snake that he believed was trapped in his sofa.
What do you mean believed it was trapped in his sofa? Either it was or it wasn't.
Well, the Weston-super-Mare man reported lying on the sofa and feeling the body of a snake inside the furniture, reports to Bristol Live. He told the animal welfare charity that he'd recently purchased a sofa, so the RSPCA had sent out Inspector Kim Waters to investigate. However, the man was...
Well, that's good. That's pretty responsive. He was lucky to get an answer to his phone call.
But, I mean, if he only just brought it, and if he brought it brand new, I think there's even less chance there would be a snake inside it. If he bought it second hand, then maybe.
You're victim blaming.
I'm just saying, Alex, I don't think there's many sofa factories in the UK that have a snake infestation. I may be wrong. Maybe there is.
You might well be wrong, Rob. Exactly.
Okay, well, however, the man was left red-faced when the inspector discovered that the distressed man had mistaken a part of the sofa for the snake.
For a dildo inside down the back covers.
What? I'm sorry, but what part of the sofa feels like the body of a snake? Apart from the dildo.
Unless he bought a snake-shaped couch. What does it? Please tell me it explains what part of the couch.
No, there's no further detail.
But hang on a minute. If it had been just like like a sofa bed might have those kind of bars in them.
Yeah.
Right? And you might feel it through the cushioning. That would feel like a pole or a bar. A snake. To me, lying on a couch feeling a snake would be a long, wiggly thing moving around, squirming around underneath me. There's no part of a couch that does that, to my knowledge.
No, you're right, Alex. I think the only thing I can think of is he literally has taken all the cushions off the sofa and maybe was lying on the springs, possibly. But I've literally no idea how he's managed to mistake it.
This man's an idiot. This man's an idiot.
Well, even more bizarrely, apparently the RSPCA shared the incident to help combat Blue Monday on January 17th, often described as the most depressing day of the year.
So they thought it was funny, did they? The RSPCA?
I think so. Yeah. So they tried to obviously add some brevity to obviously what statistically is the most depressing day of the year.
Okay, Rob, look, it's been a while, but I've got a couple of stories here I want to just mention. Yeah, now listen, I enjoyed this story, right? This is quite old. I've had it sitting on my inbox for a while. It was from November, 16th of November, no less, 2021, which feels like a long time ago, by Matthew Galt from Vice magazine.
Okay.
This is one of those stories. So, headline, California man in 4-day standoff with abandoned Amazon truck in driveway.
Right, okay. Tell me more.
A man in California is in a standoff, well, he was in November, with Amazon because it abandoned one of its delivery vans in his driveway and failed to remove it, Rob. for 4 days. There's a picture, I'm looking at it, of the Amazon van just in his driveway. The man who asked to be identified by his Twitter alias Captain Lou because he was worried his employer...
Okay, fair enough.
Listen to this sentence, Rob. The man who asked to be identified by his Twitter alias Captain Lou. Why? Because he was worried his employer wouldn't want him to beef with Amazon publicly. That just shows, doesn't it, the clout of Amazon, where you're worried you might lose your job because your employer doesn't want you to have a public spat with Amazon. My God.
I mean, I'd like to know who he works for, but I mean, it's quite nice though. He's obviously considering his employment at this point in time, but I can't imagine his employer would sack him because he's spoken out about the fact that I'm assuming that someone's dumped an Amazon truck in his driveway.
Well, he said, Rob, his ordeal started when he ordered some quilted northern toilet paper from Amazon. Interesting brand name there, quilted northern toilet paper. So if I were to buy quilted northern toilet paper here, I'd assume that it was made, in the north of England, and I probably wouldn't buy it because I'd assume it's bad quality and made out of, that kind of thing. But do you want to say something to that,
Alex? Well, this obviously speaks to your prejudices, because when I heard quilted northern toilet paper, I instantly went to like Scandinavia. So I was thinking it was going to be utilitarian toilet paper, but well made but sturdy. You may pay a little more for it, but it's just better quality.
But I'm asking you, Rob, if you were in the UK and you're in the toilet paper aisle, and there are 2 toilet papers in front of you, one's called quilted northern toilet paper and the other's called quilted southern toilet paper, what are you going to buy? I think you're going to buy the one from the south, aren't you?
No, I'm going to buy from the north, Alex, because I'm very much a socialist and believe that the distribution of wealth should be applied to all.
On Friday night, a Sprinter van pulled up to his house and dropped off a package, not a euphemism. 15 minutes later, Lou noticed the van was still there and the driver was struggling to get it out of his driveway. I asked the driver, if he was okay, Lou told Vice over the phone. The driver said he was fine and that the check engine light had come on and it had been giving him trouble the entire day and limiting his speed. About an hour later, Lou left to pick up his daughter from a football game and noticed the van was still in his driveway. Brilliant. The driver was gone and so were all the other packages. It was unlocked with the keys in it. The driver had repositioned the truck so I could get out the driveway, which is great, Lou said. But after the initial contact, the driver didn't say anything, didn't leave a note at all, so didn't even tell him, I'm leaving the van in your driveway.
But my concern is this poor driver had to complete his round. So yes. Literally he's bundled up all the Amazon parcels and just is running from house to house to finish off the rest of the deliveries.
Yeah, because as you know, if you don't finish your deliveries and you work for Amazon, you are put into gladiatorial combat to the death with other workers. Or depending on the severity of the lateness of the packages, killed by firing squad. I would say, obviously, all that was said in the name of jest. One of the tragic things about this is, Rob, and I don't know if it's true for you, is that any time I ever read about working practices and things like that, these alleged things you hear about Amazon, it literally makes you recoil in disgust, and yet I still use them for a hell of a lot.
Yeah, Alex, I am anything if not a hypocrite. Yeah, absolutely, and there has been times where I've actually been out shopping, on the high street and just thought, oh, that's a bit pricey. I'm sure I can get that cheap on Amazon.
This is the problem.
And I can have it by tomorrow.
They've got us by the balls, Rob.
Yeah, they really do, Alex. And also that was one of the conditions of Prime membership, I believe. Yeah. You do have to submit them.
Saturday morning, Lou's daughter came into his room and told him the truck had turned around in the middle of the night. So sure enough, about 8 o'clock in the morning, somebody came and started the truck and drove it out into the street. Apparently it was not capable of going anywhere, so they just put it right back in my driveway. But 180 degrees from where it was the night before. I mean, to do that without his permission is extraordinary. Whoever turned the truck around wasn't as considerate of the first driver, and Lou can't now squeeze his own car down the driveway after the repositioning. So I went and opened the door to the truck, and sure enough, the keys are still in it, and I just moved it over 5 feet. Lou pointed out that it's not an Amazon branded truck, just a white Sprinter van typically used by third-party contractors. But it is delivering Amazon goods, Lou said, and it's been in my driveway since Friday night, fully unlocked with the keys inside. The only clue to the van's problems can be found on a repair order sitting on the passenger seat of the van. According to Lou, who works in the automotive industry, that's handy, the van has only 400 miles on the clock and was repaired about 2 weeks ago at a dealership. When he moved the van, he noticed the check engine light was on. According to the paperwork, Lou said it looks like the man has an airflow problem that's putting it into a restricted driving mode that reduces its horsepower. It's a lemon, Lou said. Lou has tried to contact Amazon, but the company hasn't been helpful. He started by tagging Amazon on Twitter, quickly got a direct message from somebody at the company with a customer service link that went to a form where he could complain about packages and deliveries. The representative reached back to ask if that had resolved the issue. I'm not exactly sure. There's a button that says stranded truck in my driveway, Lou said, etc. I mean, you get the idea. Eventually, Amazon told Lou to call the authorities to have it towed away. That's a terrible solution, Lou said. I'm not going to have the vehicle towed. Amazon should be able to figure this out. So it's now an act of defiance. I'm leaving it there. I did not follow Amazon's instructions to just call the cops and have it towed. I'm leaving it there and wanted to see what happens. How long is it going to take them to figure out their delivery truck that's just sitting somewhere? End of story.
I mean, effectively, that vehicle's been dumped. I mean, he should just sell it. I mean, you put it on Facebook Marketplace, I guarantee someone will buy it.
Yeah, exactly. Right, Rob, let's move on to another story. I believe this is an update. I remember covering this story, unless it's a very similar story. You will remember this. This is from November the 13th, 2021. So again, been waiting a while to do this update. From Ann Arbor, and it's from mlive.com. Don't know what the M stands for, Rob. No idea. You?
Right. No, not a clue.
Monroe County, I think is Michigan. A Rockman woman has pled guilty to attempting to hire a hitman through a fake website to kill her ex-husband.
I remember this well. Yeah, it was a great story. This is the fake website that was set up by it was like a surveillance company, I think it was, on behalf of the local police force.
Well, the good news, what I love about a recap is we get to go back and revisit the story, the bits we've forgotten, Rob. So Wendy Lynn Wayne, 52, pled guilty to charges of solicitation of murder and using a computer to commit a crime on November the 12th. I love that charge, using a computer to commit a crime.
Is that, I mean, I always thought that was just called wire fraud, isn't it? But maybe not.
I wonder if you throw a computer through the window of a building, does that come under that charge? Anyway, the terms of Wine's plea agreement include a cap of 108 months in prison on a minimum sentence. Wine will appear before Monroe Circuit Judge Daniel White for sentencing on January the 13th, 2022. So that's probably already happened, but I haven't got the information on that. In spring 2020, police were contacted by the owner of the website titled Rent a Hitman after Wine filled out a service request form and asked for a consultation with a professional to help her with an issue regarding her ex-husband, according to Michigan State Police. Am I not right in thinking, Rob, that the police set up Rent a Hitman as a honey trap?
Yeah,
so
they
did.
did.
Literally set up this website called renthitman.com, and anyone who's stupid enough to sign on to it got a call from the authorities.
But this is what we said at the time, Alex, because we were speculating. If you are stupid enough to Google, because she must have Googled, how do I hire a hitman? And this came up. If you're stupid enough to fill in your details for what is clearly an illegal act, then you deserve everything you get.
Exactly. Actually, no, the domain was created as a cybersecurity test site, police said, adding the website owner was concerned Wine was serious and could be attempting to kill the man. So they just were doing it as a test site, so presumably just had a bit of fun with it. Thought, let's call it rentahitman.com, and some stupid person went on there and actually signed up for it and asked for the service.
That's even worse.
Despite she did use a pseudonym, she completed the request with her personal identifying information, though. With assistance from 2 state police, undercover narcotics units, an undercover police officer posed as a hitman on July 17th and met with Wine in a South Rockwood parking lot. During the meeting, she offered the undercover officer $5,000 to kill her ex-husband and provided him with an upfront payment to cover travel expenses out of state. Soon after handing the payment, she was arrested. Brilliant.
That's nice to do. I mean, fantastic. I mean, but look, everyone knows if you're going to hire a hitman, please, please, please use the dark web.
Exactly. Okay, one more story, Rob, short one. It's from insider.com. Again, I'm sorry, these are historical. They're all from November because, as you understand, that's when my visual problem started. November the 1st, 2021. Now, it says courtesy of Tamara Torluxon. Now, wouldn't it just normally say bye? It's strange. Anyway. Headline: Woman pooped her pants during marathon and ran with it in her shorts.
I mean, I believe this is quite common, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah, people who run marathons, I think, due to the physical exertion placed on the body
and the length of the run,
and exactly, yeah, people will often feel the overwhelming need to to urinate or defecate? Because obviously there's that very famous picture of Paula Radcliffe who had to stop and shit in a drain, which is a genuine thing.
Well, she stopped during the run. Did she still win it?
I think it was. I believe it was no. I believe it was the London Marathon. She stopped and had to defecate over a drain. Yeah, Google it. It was well reported, which is even worse.
Well, there are pictures of her defecating over a drain. That's what you're telling me.
Yeah, let me find it. Paula. I'm going to Google this. Paula Radcliffe.
I guess I should look for it as well then.
Poo. Yeah, here we are. This is the Daily Star. That's probably not the best start, really.
Yeah, I've got the picture here of her. Yep, she is having a shit over a drain.
Yeah,
it looks like the feces running down her leg, to be honest. Okay. Anyway, well, okay. So anyway, Tamara. Oh, it says courtesy of Tamara Torluxon, as you know, Rob. This article, but the story is about Tamara Torluxon. She's the runner. So has she submitted the story herself to Insider? I don't understand.
Is this the kind of thing you want to be making public? I don't know.
Well, anyway, Tamara Torluxon's digestive tract, because it becomes weird if you think she's writing it in the third person about herself, if indeed she has written it. I'm very confused.
Yep.
Tamara Torluxon's digestive tract is a well-oiled machine. Whenever she has a race or a long run day, her bowels automatically clear before she hits the road. Nothing was different on the day of the Mountains to Beach Marathon, which sounds wonderful. Her 6th race of the 26.2 mile distance in 2018. And yet, about halfway through the race, she realised she needed to go again. How she handled the urge was unusual, by pooping her pants, but she believes it served her well. She ended up achieving a personal record as well as legend status in her running circles. After having her first child, Torluxon, then 31, was fueled by a sort of new mum energy. Some runners say they've become faster after giving birth. I didn't know that. Maybe you could get Sarah to go out on a run and see if that's proved true.
I'm just thinking, is it a bit like a Formula 1 car? The faster they go as the fuel goes down, the faster they become. Do you think that's what it is? You're carrying less weight.
Training was going really well. I knew I was in really good shape, said Torluxon, an event planner in Sacramento, California, who leads a local women's running group. The Mountains to Beach Marathon, which starts in Ojai, California, and ends in the coastal city of Ventura, west of Los Angeles, would be her first postpartum race, and she thought she could set a personal record, and for the first half of the race, Rob, she was on track to do just that. But at mile 13 or 14, she realised she needed to go to the bathroom. She didn't want to lose physical or mental momentum by stopping, nor did she want one pit stop to prompt her colon to request several. I thought, I don't know if it's possible to poop while running, but I will try. I didn't want one poop to mess it all up. So without stopping,
Sorry. I never want to be in a situation where I have to think, is it possible to shit myself whilst running? I'm not the most athletic, but I'd never want to have to ask myself that question either.
Rob, we've never spoken about this, but when's the last time you remember shitting yourself? Have you ever shit yourself as an adult? And I don't mean like touching cloth. I mean like it's actually, you've actually loaded into your unders. I mean, you can say or not say, it's up to you, really.
Well, I'm just thinking, I've never been out and about where it's happened.
Right, but it's a regular occurrence at home, is it? You just think, I can't bother to get up, I'll just
shit myself. No, I remember back in 2007, right. I had a very joyous New Year's Eve where I had the norovirus. And literally, I
remember that year. I had it that year as well. Do you know that literally that year?
Did you really?
Yes, I did.
There was a really virulent strain that went
round. It was horrific.
And I was so ill. And I think there were... I'm going to say, Alex, on more than one occasion did it happen that I shit myself. Because I think I was just so drained and dehydrated that I literally just couldn't get out of bed. Because I remember one stage I was just
sleeping. Did you clean up after you did it, or did you just lie there in your own shit?
No, I think I remember best to clean up each time. I didn't just lie there and just smear it over myself. No, not like an Apocalypse Now.
If you could be bothered to get up and clean it, why couldn't you have been bothered to get up to go to the toilet in the first place, Rob?
Well, I think after you've done it, there is a necessity to clean yourself. Beforehand, it's kind of like I could just do it. And it's not like it. Look, Alex, this is getting too graphic, but I think that's the last time I remember. How about you?
No, we've got to move on now, Rob. Because we're running out of time. So without stopping, she relieved herself into the built-in underwear and her shorts. I had to focus, she said, and continued on her way. It just came out. I felt a lot better. Torlixon doesn't think anyone noticed, and she said she didn't give a shit if they did. Marathoners don't judge, she added. She maintained a PR pace with thawed shorts for roughly 13 more miles. She kept her mind focused on maintaining her fast clip, not on what was in her shorts. When she neared the finish line, she yelled to her friends, "I pooped my pants!"
She definitely submitted this story. There's no two ways about this. No one is reporting on this. She has submitted this herself.
Okay, Rob, now as you know, I have recently, for our listener story of the week, been taking requests for what you want me to play on my purple rod. And obviously, these are all for baby Lara for when she grows up and her ears are mature enough and sophisticated enough to understand what she's hearing. So what would you like this week? Something short, please.
Okay, well, I'm not sure you're going to know any songs, but I will give it a go. Now, Alex, as you've already alluded to, we do record these ahead of time, and this week marks the tragic death of Meat Loaf. And now, we've never discussed on the podcast, but I'm a big Meat Loaf fan. I've always loved his music. In fact, Bat Out of Hell is my go-to song karaoke, if anyone cares. Do you know any Meat Loaf songs?
Of course I know Meat Loaf, Rob. Who doesn't? So,
well...
I would do anything. I would do anything for love. But I was watching Rob, I was watching, did you know he did once explain what that lyric meant? Did you know that?
Yes, I saw the interview and I actually went back and looked at the lyrics for it. It's actually quite interesting. I never realised that, it's all in there, but people.
Yeah. If you want, listeners want to know, find the interview on YouTube. Right. Okay. The answer to that question, by the way, of what he won't do, it's not dogging or anything like that, by the way. Okay, right.
Or anal.
Yeah. Okay, right. We're getting there, Rob. So.
Yeah.
Wait. Yeah, the recorder's still broken. I mean, that much is clear. It's gone back now, Rob, a number of times, so I'm going to have to just keep going or buy a new one. I mean, I know they say a bad workman should never blame his tools, but in this case, it is a broken recorder. I mean, it's quite clear everybody can hear it.
Sure. I mean, that was that was a tribute, definitely. Not a fitting tribute, but it was a tribute nonetheless. So thank you for that. Now, in terms of listener story, it would have gone to Kyber, but obviously because of our editorial standards, we've obviously decided not to cover that story. So unfortunately, it is defaulted to Steve. He really is on a run at the moment. And it is an update as well. We do love an update. This man has probably featured on the podcast.
Sorry, Rob. When they break up monopolies, I think we're going to have to do this with Steve, because Steve has become the Manchester City of listeners. I mean, we can't just have him just keep winning. Shit, everything.
Well, ironically, the story he sent in also features the man who, probably after John Mooner, has been on this podcast the most, I would say.
Let me guess who that is. Not Alan Ames.
No, I forgot Alan Ames as well. Maybe not then. Actually, there's a few people probably who feature a lot more. Look, let me just read the headline. You might be able to work it out. So this is from the 17th of January by Rosaline Fenton, who is the deputy features editor. And the headline is, excuse me, Polyman says meat diet, let him have sex 5 times a day with animal passion. That doesn't really give away, actually, who it is, interestingly.
I don't know who this is.
I don't think you will do, trust me. Right, if you thought EastEnders had a complicated plot line, this might blow your mind.
Rob, wait a second.
With a very complicated...
Is it Noel Edmonds?
What? No, it's a good guess though.
All right, okay.
One man with, I mean, Noel Edmonds did famously drive around London in a black taxi cab with a mannequin in the back seat, so no one would get in. Very similar to that.
Is that true?
Have you never heard that?
Tell me this story. Tell me. I don't understand. Why did he need to do that? Why didn't he just say to the cab driver, I don't want anybody else to get in this cab with me? He's Noel Edmonds.
Well, that's only half the story. So apparently the story goes, so Noel Edmonds, very famously, like Stephen Fry, used to drive a black taxi cab. And apparently he would have someone in the back with a light off, a mannequin dressed as a woman who had a name in the back of his cab so no one would get in. Also, allegedly, allowed him to drive in bus lanes. Not entirely sure whether that's true. That might be just speculation, but the mannequin is definitely true.
Okay, what I don't understand is, why didn't he want anybody to get in his cab? Because surely that meant he didn't make any money.
I mean, Alex, he doesn't need it. He before his move, as we covered, before his move to, is it New Zealand he's moved to?
Oh, sorry, I thought you were saying before he became famous and was a celebrity, drove a black cab.
No,
he just bought a black cab so he could drive on bus lanes. Oh, for fuck's sake.
Yes, yeah. Again, that might be allegedly, but the mannequin is definitely true. Anyway, one man with a very complicated love life has revealed his ongoings, and we feel exhausted. Yuri Tolochko, 37, from Kazakhstan, first married sex doll Margot before splitting. And also, I think we must have missed this story. Before splitting and revealing he'd fallen in love with an ashtray.
No. The sex doll I can understand, right? An ashtray I can't.
Yeah, well...
All I know is that ashtray would have needed a lot of wiping down. That's all I'm going to say. I hope it was a glass.
Yeah. Well, at least it was a vessel. He could keep it. Keep his seed for other things. Anyway, Alex, this isn't about the ashtray. Okay. He then entered into a polyamorous marriage with two younger models, Luna and Lola. Both sex dolls, by the way, just to make that absolutely clear.
Sorry, you're not casting aspersions on these women. You're saying they were actually literally sex dolls.
No, they are literal sex dolls.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Now he's decided to share his bedroom habits and revealed he has sex up to 5 times a day. In a blow to Veganuary, he says his secret to his energy is eating meat.
So he has sex with these sex dolls 5 times a day, and it's because he eats a lot of meat.
So Yuri Tolochko said his regular diet of steak, chicken, and fish sparks an animal passion in the bedroom amid his complicated life.
Okay.
So the pansexual recently divorced his sex wife Margot to enter into polyamorous marriage with two younger models, Luna and Lola. When I eat meat, sex is a different energy. It's more animalistic, Yuri says. I think my wives enjoy dirty sex. It's so grubby. I think my wives enjoy dirty sex.
I feel sorry for these sex dolls.
I mean, can you just imagine what he's doing? I mean, it's going to be absolutely filthy. He says, I eat the right amount of meat and it makes me have better orgasms than when I just eat vegetables. There's also a really unnecessary picture of him lying in bed. And Alex, I'm sure you're going to ask this question. Does he have both nipples pierced? Yes, he does.
Of course he does.
Of course, if you eat too much and do not get the right balance or overdo the protein, it will affect your potency. But for me, it's great. Yuri says he brings nipple clamps and growling into the bedroom, and he masturbates between...
Wait a second. Wait. What's when you say he brings growling, you mean he growls?
I'm assuming so.
Right, and hang on. And then you're about to tell me he, as well as having sex with the sex dolls 5 times a day, he masturbates how many times?
He masturbates between 3 to 8 times a day if his wives aren't in the mood. Now, curious that. I don't understand how that works because, unless he really believes they are human, they are inanimate objects.
He's not well, Rob, right? He's not.
Yeah, okay.
But sorry, 3 to 8 times a day, how does he have enough time to do anything else? I mean, there aren't that many hours in the day, Rob. No? You'd be...
No, there aren't, Alec. I don't know. Right. I honestly don't. I mean...
Okay.
Despite his love for a protein diet, Yuri did try a vegetarian lifestyle when he was 25, which he claimed made him more flexible between the sheets. He returned to a meat-based diet 5 years ago, which he credits to winning a couple of bodybuilder competitions and hasn't looked back since. So maybe he's got bodybuilder money and apparently just spends his, just enjoys his time, apparently, having sex with sex dolls and masturbating vigorously. Do you know what, Alex? I mean, I think we've covered the gist of it here. I mean, we know about.
I thought you said something else there. I just heard covered and I heard gist, but thankfully there's a T at the end of it. Listen, let's on that bombshell, Rob. We're going to bring this episode of Local Anaesthetic to a close. That's episode 354, Rob. We look forward with a mixture of eager anticipation yet trepidation to our next episode, which will be episode 355, Rob. As we move ever more forward, like. I thought I was going to drop this, didn't I? But I can't, Rob. I can't drop it. Ever more forward like what? A woman running... Yeah, ever more forward like a woman running a marathon, Rob. Determined that that feeling in her bowels, Rob. Rob, I'm sure you know that feeling. Have you ever had that feeling, Rob, where you're not sure whether you need to pass wind or you need to shit? And it's a Russian roulette situation, because you take the risk and you think, okay, I think this is... I need to pass wind. If you get it wrong, the consequences are dire.
Yeah. But in her situation, it sounds like she knew exactly what was going to happen.
She knew exactly what was going to happen.
It was an if. Yeah.
So
just like that.
Just like that, we move ever more forward to our next episode, which will be episode 355. We can be found on Spotify. We are on Facebook. Facebook.com/LAPodcast. We're on Twitter at LAPodcast. We have our website, LAPodcast.net. I would say, Rob, that all the episodes are automatically uploaded to YouTube. I don't know if people will listen to them there, but I did notice, Rob, I'm pleased to announce that our Alan Partridge is Richard Madeley is Alan Partridge story that we made a video out of is now on 19,000 views, Rob, and has many, many comments underneath it.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, all some great Partridge references. You need to go and look at it, and really made me laugh. People knew what they were talking about. Although one person asked if one of the people doing the podcast was Gary Kemp.
What? As in Spandau Ballet?
Yeah, so I don't know if they thought that was me or you, or if it's a compliment.
I'll take it. You know, I've been called worse.
Yeah, anyway. Listen, Rob, most importantly to mention, we are now on Patreon. Patreon is a service that people can go to, and they can sort of subscribe to different podcasts for a nominal amount each month, and they get bonus content, and that's what we do. How many episodes have we got on there now, Rob, on our Patreon page? I think it's 12 or 13 or 14. I can't even remember. 13
currently, yeah. I think by the time you released it, it'll be 14.
Yeah, no, for 14 episodes there. So you sign up, patreon.com/LAPodcast extra. It's £2 a month. Like Rob always said, less than a cup of coffee. And you're going to get 2 episodes a month delivered straight to your inbox from there. But of course, if you sign up today, you're already going to have 14 episodes of our bonus content, which is called LA Podcast, an extra jab, Rob, and we are enjoying it very, very much. We have had some all-time classic stories on there, and they will continue. But thank you very much for listening, everybody. This week, we've really enjoyed your company, and we'll be back in a couple of weeks' time with this episode. But if you want more Local Anaesthetic, then of course go over to Patreon, and you can get your fill there. God bless.
And keep it local.
Local Anaesthetic Podcast is now on Patreon, so sign up now to receive exclusive LA Podcast and extra jab bonus episodes to your inbox every month. These can't be found anywhere else, and if you want to hear them, go to patreon.com/LA Podcast extra. More stories about stupid people doing stupid things. Teacher rushed to hospital after shoving USB cable in his penis.
No, fuck off, he didn't.
He inserted the cable to measure the length of his penis out of sexual curiosity.
What pleasure could you possibly derive from this? I mean, apart from trying it this evening.
More stupid people doing more stupid things. Parents ordered to pay 43-year-old son after getting rid of his pornography collection.
I just feel bad for the parents, because it seems like the one thing their son has managed to get right is the fact that he has a vintage pornography collection. That's the only thing going on in his life.
Well, inside the boxes were films such as Lesbians in Tight Shorts, University Co-ed 25, and 1001 Erotic Nights.
What can I see? What I'd like to know is, what was it? It was a University Co-ed 25. Did he have the whole University Co-ed series?
And of course, the strangest news stories you've ever heard.
Man left baffled after finding whole potato in his bag of kettle chips.
What?
Dr. Boyce, 38, was watching the deers rut in Leicestershire when he felt peckish and opened a bag of crisps.
What a strange... Was he having a wank? Was he? What a strange... So what a strange thing to include in the story. So the journalists went over there. They're like, tell us what happened. He goes, well, I was watching some deers have sex out of my window.